All right, welcome to Cafecito Break. I'm Rosangel Perez La Shamanesa. And you know here at Cafecito Break how I feel about the conversation about going into the rabbit hole, because we're going into that rabbit hole today. I've got a beautiful woman in my presence named Heather Carlucci. She is a medium. She is a medical intuitive. Ooh, just getting chills saying it, and we haven't even had a conversation yet. We haven't even heard her speak. But first, I want to just say thank you and acknowledge that we are here at the Art House Hotel in New York City. It is beautiful. I want to stay downstairs and have a beautiful drink. It boasts 291 guest rooms. It has 3 on-site restaurants and nightly live entertainment, and it's located in Manhattan's Upper West Side. So you can book your next stay at arthousehotelnyc.com, or you can call for group rates and events. And I just also want to say thank you to the Global League of Women, also known as GLOW, for doing such a fantastic job and bringing such a powerful, dynamic group of women together. And in my presence is the woman that charged me up, just like when you introduced yourself, Heather, I felt charged up.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you know, let's just go with the basics, like like
You just gave me goosebumps.
like in the basics, like can you share, you know, what is a psychic medium for those of people who might still be a little bit in the dark about this?
Sure. It kind of gets broken down into both psychic and medium.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as a medium, I speak and hear from the spirits. That would, if this was a reading, I would say to you, I hear, see, and feel the spirits that come in with you, as well as my own, of what they call the 8 clairsenses: clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairgoustiance, clairtendency, blah, blah, blah. I have all 8.
Wow.
And on the other side of that, I am a medical intuitive. And a medical intuitive is, in my case, I can see into issues in the body and also where they come from. Mm-hmm. So I do work with a lot of surgeons and doctors and patients on how to help them go through whatever they need to go through to get, you know, through a health journey, an illness, and sometimes even help them pass over.
Wow. That's incredible. And
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. Let's explore that a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's do that.
You're the first person I meet that has all of those. And usually I meet someone that maybe has the gift of intuition or maybe empathy or maybe they're clairsentient. But you have all of them. Can you break down in as simple as you can what those are for our audience?
Sure. I have to remember all the words all the time too, so I don't really catch up with them. Well, okay. So I hear, right, and it's very much like you hear talking. Yeah. I see as in seeing visions. That's really easy. There is a sense of knowing. And that's interesting because it is one of the things that is without doubt. So when you get that, you know it's without ego. And it's almost easy to define because it feels very different from you because we're such earthbound people, right? And we're all about ego insecurity. So it's a sense of, I have no doubt at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which as a woman, we are told to doubt and
Yes.
question. And there's a certain sense of, and I think all people have all these things, just in different levels. When I do a reading, I can smell things that bring me to
Wow.
what you need to hear. The first time that ever happened, I remember I was sitting across from, actually, I was a chef for 30 years, and I was sitting across from another, a woman who was a very prominent chef, and I said, in the middle of the reading, I said, do you smell that roasting corn, like fresh corn muffins with real corn in it? And she said, no. But it's the same smell that used to come with my grandmother, and I just described her grandmother to her. So it's that sort of thing. I can taste things sometimes, depending on what I'm supposed to give you. I feel things, feel things on me in my hands. So yeah, all the senses at any given moment, and I receive messages.
I really love that. So diving in a little deeper.
Okay.
Ooh. So
I'm ready.
you said, if I'm not mistaken, you were born with like no, you were already like some people, they start developing these gifts.
Yes.
But they came natural to you.
Yes, and as I've sort of last year I've been more out about it in the public. A little I've just gotten more. Podcasts are now a thing, and so you get to sort of be out and about a bit more. I would have to say that I realized that I had these things when I realized other people didn't.
Oh.
Because it is so much a part of you. And as a child, you wonder why the adults are behaving the way you're behaving. Children do anyway. I feel like they got here most recently, so they're a little bit more pure of mind. It's not that they're naive of heart, but they remember what it was like before you get here. They're not so overwhelmed by all the earthly distractions, issues, insecurities. Yeah, we put our stuff upon children, unfortunately. In that, it was very easy to sort of look around and be like, how did you not know that was going to happen? I remember very clearly sitting in the living room on a Sunday afternoon. I think it was around Christmas. The house was full. And my aunts and uncles were talking about one of my aunts and that she had kidney problems. And somebody said, yeah, but they also think it's something with her liver. And I walked through the living room and I just said, pancreatic cancer. And I kept going.
Wow.
And I look back on it, and they were at it, and it was, in fact, pancreatic cancer. Wow. But that was kind of ignored, and it wasn't quieted, but it was ignored. And I always remember that scenario, and I was like, what the hell was I thinking, when I look back on it now? But that's what it was. I got a message, and I was giving it out.
So you mentioned that this sort of coming out for you has been more recent, and you were in the restaurant business. I don't know if you'll go back to it at some point or anything similar. Okay.
Oh, no,
for 30 years.
For 30 years, yeah. I was a chef and restaurateur. And I don't look at it. It was not a hiding of my gifts. I just didn't realize how big they were. I was a very ambitious chef. I loved the business. I loved the creativity. I loved the frenetic energy. And then at the end, I could not do it anymore. I fell out of love with it. And that is the kind of work that if you do not fully love it, for all of its issues and weirdness and things, and then, and my body was beginning to give out. Like my ankle, I was standing for a living, my ankles couldn't handle it, the insane nights. And of course, as I was saying earlier to you, I lived the chef lifestyle fully. Late nights and all sorts of things, and at some point the body goes, you know what, no, you have to live quieter. And I had something else to do.
Wow.
I had to find myself in this.
And was that the start of like the that pivotal moment or moments for you when you're moving from I'm here and this I love so much and now it's starting to fade away, I feel like I've got something else to do? Like, was that exhaustion it was part of it?
The exhaustion. I had just been through 2 restaurants during the recession, which is heart-wrenching because you have no control over that. In business, we can shift things and we can kind of make things work. And when the recession hit 2008, and I had opened my place the end of 2005, so we were just. It was open. It was my baby. That one restaurant was my baby, and then at the end of it, I had a child, and I was going through a divorce. It was all the things, and I couldn't. And I was consulting here and there, and I could not find a job all of a sudden. After 30 years, I could always work, and it was the universe was really telling me, you got to do something else. And a friend of mine called me, who was also a medium. He lived down in Atlanta. And he started yelling at me that it was my life's work. Wow. And I'm not a yeller. I don't keep yellers around me. And the next week, he showed up in my doorstep for a hug and apologizing. And then the week after that, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And if that's not a message right? That's how the movies play it.
Yeah.
The person dies and you got to make life change.
I've got chills from top to bottom,
Yeah.
which keeps happening in your presence.
And mine yours.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I, and going back to like this world, right?
Yes.
Where saying that you're a psychic medium, depending on who's hearing it, can be very jading. Like, for example, I have an article opened in my computer right now because it's an article that I plan to discuss in one of my future podcasts, which is about how people have gotten taken advantage of for like thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars by the people who may have gifts but are using it in naughty ways.
Absolutely. That's out there.
And from what I understand, one of the things that you're passionate about is raising awareness for, what are the tail signs of like recognizing like what's real. And I know so if we can kind of dive in and however you
Sure.
want to explore that.
I like to sort of say I'm all about somebody's language, first and foremost. And when you're looking for somebody, because it's not just me, and I call it the parlor tricks, but it's not. But it's the things that I tell you that not for any great growth reason, but they're messages I get to confirm that that I am real, right? It's naming, your grandmother or something like that, right? We had a little bit of that moment yesterday, right? So there are those things that are very confirming. But I believe that there's a language. Like you and I met, we clicked right away. It was an understanding. But a lot of people will come to me and say, I love what you do, but you're not my person. And a lot of that is culture. A lot of that is vibe. Whatever makes you comfortable, that person has to be able to communicate with you. So first and foremost, find your person that you say, I feel comfortable with that person. You may not even know why. Right. For some people, I had a woman come to me and she was very intense on her home country culture. And I thought to myself, I don't think she's going to kind of dig me. And she's like, no, you and I are the same age. And for her, that's what she needed. She needed a woman going through the same having that connection. And you can have that connection with anybody. But what you find that language, that's very important. Also, it's really important. Much of this is being of service, like any other, I think, job or any other job period. You can take anything in the world and you can sit with it in a way that is always of service to somebody, even bankers. You can make sure you can work with people. You can work to change the culture. You can work to change the system, right? So in that way, look and see what this person is doing that is of service to somebody. Are they jumping on the bandwagon because suddenly they were corporate for a million years. They went to one yoga retreat and suddenly they're calling themselves something? Right. Which that person may have amazing gifts, but you need teachers and you need to figure it out. Also, it's important. It's not just the information that comes out of you, but you have to know how to hold space for people. If you don't know how these people are going to react to hearing about an uncle, right? If you're not sensitive to it, if you're not listening just to what you hear or how spirits are giving you information, you have to be really careful. You also have to understand that when certain things are said, they are giving me that wording for you. Like if they say the word blue, they're making sure it's the blue that you know, not the blue that I know. Right. It's not dark blue like I want. It's light blue like you want. I've seen that over and over and over again. It is for that, the reading is for the other person. It has nothing to do with me. So one of the big things I always have to check myself on is, am I leaving my ego outside the door? Because as a chef, my life was my ego. And now it is very much not.
Right.
Yeah. When I sit down with somebody, even if I'm just feeling really insecure that day, and, I've talked to lots of people who do what I do, and everybody in that moment sometimes is like, what if the spirits don't show up? What if I don't feel anything? And you know what? Even if they didn't, you'd know how to deal with it, because there's time under your belt. There's certain people who know how to deal with a riotous crowd. And there are other people in that same position who don't know how to deal with a riotous crowd. And it's like that. So look for somebody who also gives. Look for somebody who's willing to take the time and not just throw a reading out at you. It is not too general.
Mm-hmm.
Also wait to see how it goes. Because sometimes when people come in and they're tight, when people are, or they're so defiant on not giving me any information,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm like, this is taking a little bit more time. Just relax, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me anything. I'd rather you not. Just take a deep breath, please, because you hold back, and that's your energy.
And it's hard to read that person.
It's very hard to read that person. It's like pulling molasses, out of something. It's like, come on, when it can be a beautiful spiritual conversation where you don't even have to speak. If you're open to it. Yeah. So there are many points in looking for the right person for you and looking for somebody who's really authentic. I make sure that I always have people around me, other light workers,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we call readers and psychics and mediums, that I know that are authentic. That in case someone says, you're not my person, I can say, I may have somebody else who I have a feeling might be perfect for you.
Yeah. And I love that approach because and I'm not saying this from a critical point. I think that when we learn something and we're excited about it, ego comes in as a natural thing, right? And sometimes society's like, you gotta squash your ego. I'm like, I don't know about that. But check it, right?
You gotta check it.
When you're there, someone comes to you for a reading, you are being put in a place of service, not in a place of flash. I'm flashing all of my... Because that happens a lot for us. Especially in the beginning when we were still learning to define our boundaries, because that's one of the lessons my sister and I have learned having that metaphysical shop in Brooklyn.
Oh my gosh,
that
yes.
All of a sudden, when we first opened up shop, everyone who had some insight wanted to come and tell it and share it to us, and they would be right there. It was like, blah, 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 blah. You should do this, and you should keep this, and you should keep that. And what was beautiful and yet confusing and overwhelming was that it was all these different people from different cultures and backgrounds, but then everybody had a different approach of how to go about doing similar things, right? So if we were not in just, okay, all right, we're going to do that. Okay, we would probably have had every kind of symbol imaginable.
Yes, you would. And how authentic would you feel?
Not too much.
Yes.
Maybe a little confused and chaotic.
Sure. Yeah, you have to find your person. Absolutely. You have to find your person. You also have to find for me, because when you walk into this world right now, and everything's about capitalism, like there are things that do not click with me. And I realized it, like I cannot handle sage. A smell of sage, there's something almost like past life repellent. I'm like, oh no, don't sage me, because it will stick and it'll get in my craw.
You see, I'm happy that you mentioned that to me, because I love to offer sage blessings and I always activate sage. So I would honor and respect your boundary.
And I always ask for the blessings without the sage. I'm like, great.
I can use a beautiful agua florida spray.
Beautiful. And because also that makes more sense to me as well. My grandmother used to wear it.
That's so beautiful.
But also find it in your culture,
right?
Because we're also finding, as and I'm very sensitive to this, is cultural appropriation runs rampant in everything right now. And it's one thing, is a very big difference between honoring and appropriating.
Right.
And you can't honor. And for me, I needed, especially because it's so deep in me, I needed to find what my culture is. And I really thought about it. I'm Sicilian and Russian, and both have a deep history. Every culture has its witch, right? But for me, I was realizing that, like, I'm a salty New Yorker, and that's kind of my culture.
I love it.
Yes, I'm very Sicilian. Yes, I'm Russian Jew, but I don't, what connects with me is the presence that I've learned here. And I can take it everywhere, but because New York, which seems enormous, is not that big, and it's the eye to eye contact with somebody, it's the being in proximity to the person I'm reading. And I can read. I have people all over the world. And once I have them on video, or even they call me, or they even write to me, I can read. But it's that involvement in the person, no matter where they are, that for me is my culture.
And it's that connection. And you're right, when people stiffen up, it's harder to read. And I even have developed the spiel when I do oracle card readings, which I really don't. I just rather just sit and have a conversation and go by intuitive, empathic sense, right? Because I feel like the cards are a tool, and all right, but some people really like them, and
if
no
it makes
judgment,
other people
right?
more comfortable, absolutely.
No judgment.
Yes.
But at the same time, some people look at it as a novelty, and for me, this is something that's serious because we're potentially having a pivotal conversation.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
And
a very pivotal conversation a lot of times. Ones that even as readers, we don't realize how pivotal it is for the person.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot tell you how many people have come to me and say, this was the moment. And I was like, really? Wow. That was the moment? I would not have called that. But I'm really happy I was there for you.
And so I'm pretty sure that those who are tuning into this interview and listening right now are probably wanting to connect with you. And they would just be so angry with me if we didn't provide that information.
I have two ways that are best to get a hold of me. Well, one is my website, which is heathercarlucci.com. Very easy. And I do a channeled reading almost every day on Instagram. Ooh. I pick an image or a video, and then I channel and I write. And that's at Heather Carlucci Medium.
Heather Carlucci Medium.
Yes.
Instagram. We're going to be following her, and check out the stories, because I'm going to be posting. That is so awesome. And as we wrap down this interview, my dear lovely goddess sister,
yes,
is there anything else that you would like to share that we didn't touch upon?
I just want to say thank you. This has been such a wonderful connection that we have found yesterday, and first thing in the morning we get to do this. Just thank you.
It's a very delightful, multi-dimensional way to start the morning.
It really is. And I can't wait to come to your shop.
Oh, yes. Thank you, goddess.
Bless you.